folks. Hope you guys are having a great day. I'm going to turn this light down just a bit. It's a bit too bright. It's blinding me. And it's like very bright. So let's turn the music down a bit too. Live number 99, Thrud. That's what that track is. Pretty cool. I'm going to put together like a whole giant... I'm going to do like one giant video of like all the stuff I've recorded in the rain on the patio. I figured that would be like a... I don't know how long it would be. Probably 3 hours. 3 hours of rainy day music for your enjoyment. Yeah. I now have a generator installed at the house. I'm ready for the storms to hit, and I'm gonna guess that there's not gonna be any hurricanes for a while. We're gonna be hurricane free for the next 5 years. But it's okay, because of where I live, we lose power not that often, and the blackouts don't last that long, but it's like we have big storms. We'll have like a tornado outside of town and it'll knock power out for everybody. Kind of a, you know, kind of a crazy thing. Alright, here's what I want to do today. I'll turn this down a bit. There's so much we could do. I want to do a little writing. A couple options for writing. I had a funny idea, which was we could write a sci-fi story live for like a contest, or I can encourage you guys to do that. Let me find it real quick. So that would be fun. Or work on the new book. And what I'd like to show you how to do is kind of what I do with the live music. I've been dragging my feet getting to you know, the improv piece number 100. And that is because I just wanted to land at 100. I wanted to do 100 of these, and I wanted the 100th one to be like a really big deal and like really push the boundaries of everything I've done. Not be me dialing it in. Now, I like the rain stuff because it was me being able to just, I have to be in that moment because the rain is happening right now, and I want to record it with the rain, right? Like, so this is stuff that has to happen while the rain is happening. So you got to be more in the moment, and I like that. So for 100, I'm going to do a 4-movement piece. I'm going to do a solo symphony. I'm going to do another symphony, like a synth symphony, like classically, not necessarily theoretically classical, like I'm using the theory from 1790, but more in the vein of a classical symphony. That is 4 movements arranged in a particular way. So a sonata for symphony orchestra, but instead of a symphony orchestra, it's going to be a symphony of synthetic and real instruments that I use in a studio recording. I'm certain that no one cares about this, except for me. But it's something that is kind of boundary pushing that no one's really doing. And it steps outside of the normal bounds of what I see a lot of classical and film composers do, which is they use all of these samples. And I put a lot of thought into this. Like, they use all these orchestra samples, and they all sound like garbage to me. Not garbage, right? But they don't sound real. They don't sound like the real thing. Like trying to get... And you can spend hours tweaking violin samples to try to get them to sound like a real violin. And all of this to avoid paying a violin player because it's too expensive to hire musicians. It just is. Like, orchestras are really pricey. It's very expensive to hire an orchestra to record anything. And can be legally complicated as well. You got to get people to sign a bunch of disclosures and that it's a work for hire and they have no rights over the recording and all that kind of stuff. So that's always an issue. So instead of doing that, it's like, well, no. We're going to, since we don't have the resources to do like an orchestra recording, what can we do instead? Well, we can do, synths, right? And instead of trying to duplicate acoustic instruments to make a bad imitation of what you would record with an orchestra. Instead, my thought is we'll do the opposite, which is we'll do things that are completely possible to do in this little studio corner format, my corner studio here. So that'll be synths, guitars, that kind of thing. I did link this in the chat, by the way, which is the pre-order for the King Leper ebook. I've been seeing lots of people getting their hardbacks, their personalized hardbacks, and I'm really happy to see that. Before I go any further, tomorrow I will have Brian Niemeyer on around 6 Eastern. Around 7 Eastern. So Brian will be joining me for the retro stream. Should be quite fun. And we should be able to have a lot of we always have some interesting discussions, he and I, so I'm always looking forward to that. He's celebrating the 10th anniversary of Netherial, which is his Dragon Award-winning science fiction book. So we'll be hopefully celebrating that, talking about that 10th anniversary release. 10 years in the publishing industry. That's a long time, and that's enough time, I think, to master your craft for sure. So a lot of people talk about the amount of hours to master. I view it as like, if you've done a thing really consistently for 10 years, you've probably learned, you've probably learned to do it at the professional level. You've probably learned to do it at a high level. It's not 100%. Some people play guitar for 20 years and they don't get any better at it. But for the most part, the people that I know that have done something for 10 years, they have got really good at it. Make sure we are live here on YouTube. YouTube and X. Yes. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah. What I thought might be fun to do today as far as the music thing is, well, I'll construct the document. And I'll give you like a clue into what I do managing all of these different layers and loops and all this kind of stuff, and how I do that using Ableton or Ableton, using Live to do live performances. So I can show you a little bit about how I do that, and I have some cool new stuff to work with, like this guitar synthesizer I have behind me, so that could be an option. In fact, I probably would want to use that to get some extra kind of voicings going on. I have lots of interesting equipment for like constructing a 4-movement improv piece, including I have the Robotuners on the Gibson guitar, which is not behind me now. I have the Hello Kitty back here. What's up, Zimamaro? Thank you for joining me. So I could actually change guitar tunings for each movement live. You just press a button and like dial in the next tuning, and away you go. You don't have to stop and figure out a bunch of wacky, like, how do I tune, like turn off the sound and get my tuner. You just boop, press the button and boom, you're in the next tuning and you're ready to do the next little section of your music. So that's something that I think would be a really creative and interesting use of technology that's really there for the convenience of the player to like bring one guitar to a gig that can do all the tunings. Gibson Robot tuners will definitely do that. Yeah, I hope you're doing great, Adrian. I'm doing pretty good. Doing okay. So I'm ready for hurricane season. All right, what do we want to do first? Do we want to look at the music document first? Do we want? Oh, that's what I was going to do. Yes. Let me see if I can find. Some guy that works for Doge is like, I'm going to give out $1,000 for a sci-fi story. So let me find that. I'll link that for y'all. And gosh, I hope I bookmarked it. Let's find out. Give me a minute here, and I will find out if I bookmarked it. Oh, you know what? I quote tweeted it. get back to my thing. Yeah. There he is. Sahil Lavingia. And let me show you what let me show you what he was complaining about here. All right. Yeah. Didn't expect that working for Doge would get me banned from a science fiction writing community I was a part of. Well, being a part of a writing community, there's your first mistake. Writing communities are the classic crabs in a bucket. It's the blind leading the blind. It's a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, trying to give advice to other people who don't know what they're doing about navigating a market that they have no clue about what they're doing, right? And if anybody manages to be successful, it's like they'll get attacked by the writing community. The writing community will cancel. They love cancel culture. They're always, whatever the writing community is, it seems like they love to cancel people. And so they're going to cancel you as soon as you get your head, as soon as you get your hand out of that bucket, they're going to cancel you. All right. Yes. Where is it? Okay. Boom. Looking to pay $1,000 to exclusively publish a great science fiction or fantasy short story for free on the web. Must be less than 7,500 words. You can submit your story here by July 1st. Well, isn't that nice? We got like a week. You have like a week to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and link this. Well, I'll link the tweet. We're still calling them tweets. And this is a Google Doc. AI used, percent of story, 0. Yeah. So he has a thing where like, hey, you could use AI to publish this. So yeah, we could totally just like... How do you judge if it is not AI generated? Self-disclosure. So we wouldn't generate anything with AI. Right? We would write this ourselves because that's the point of being an artist. He's neutral on this AI thing, and that's, everybody has a different perspective on that, right? Personally, I'm against using AI to write your stories. The reason is that's not you. You're not a writer if you're doing that. So don't use AI to write your stories, please. Learn to do this. Okay? It's just like using AI to make music. I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't... It really has to do with the honesty of what you're presenting. It's not yours if you're using AI. It's the AI's. So nobody writes an AI story except the AI. The AI writes it. And then what I have to say is like, hey, if you are writing an AI story, what are you writing? You're writing a prompt that tells the AI to do something. That's like saying, I have painted this wonderful painting by instructing my artist that I hired to paint it in a certain way. Like, I want a painting that has me in a red cape. Look at what I've created you've commissioned it. So you haven't actually written anything. You've commissioned something from an AI. And I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't ever bother doing that ever. And if there's like, well, what if there's this scene that I don't know how to write? Well, how do you not know how to write a scene? You just write it, just write the dang thing. I've heard lots of things about writing community from other authors like Larry Correia. Almost none of what I've heard has been good. Yeah, there's different writing communities, but they're almost always incredibly hostile to each other. Not helpful because they're full of amateurs. It's kind of like a writing group where you're going to critique each other's books. Like, you're better off just hiring an editor. Just like bite the bullet and hire a really experienced writer to be your editor. You'll get your money's worth if they're good, and you'll learn more than you will with a writing group. I think I had this in my book because I did that early on, but the feedback was ultimately not only not helpful, but it anything that I internalized from that feedback turned out to be the wrong thing. Like, it was bad advice from people who didn't read or write enough to actually have perspective. So one of them was like writing in third person omniscient. I realized so many people who grew up reading modern stories and didn't read any older books, never read Third Person Omniscient as a perspective and as a way of writing a narrative. They never read anything in Third Person Omniscient. So when they read it, when I wrote something in that, it made no sense to them. So I actually avoided that style because I was like, well, I guess this is the wrong way to write, or that, I want people to, first it's like, well, I guess this is the wrong thing to do. And then later you're like, well, no, I was doing this because all of these other famous books do that. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just that people don't understand that. They're just not used to that. They haven't read Shogun, right? They're like, what's with the head hopping? Well, great writers have done that. So it's not it's not a crazy thing. So yeah, I wouldn't use AI to write. Is there any use for AI that you think would be useful? Just off the top of my head, things like outlining or research come to mind. Research is probably pretty useful because AI can conglomerate lots of information for you. But the follow-up should be like include the sources so that you can go deeper, right? If you need a quick overview of something, AI can be really good at that. And it can speed up the process of you searching lots of online resources quickly to like extrapolate a generalization that you need, right? So maybe you need like, AI, I need to know about samurai swords real quick. Tell me about samurai swords. And they're like, there was a variety of swords used in feudal Japan from the 10th to the 19th centuries. The most famous of them is probably the katana, which came into use at the end of the 14th century. And it had it was carried edge up in the scabbard, and it had a curve that tended to be stronger towards the point rather than towards the hilt, which contrasted with earlier tachi, which were carried edge down, right? If an AI told you this, all of the information that I'm giving you, having researched it, that saves you the time of having to do what I did, which is like, I have to learn all about swords in order to accurately talk about swords. Right. That's totally useful if you're just going to have one guy with a katana and it's not like a whole story set in feudal Japan. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to go that deep. So I think AI kind of extrapolating the big points of research can be really useful. Grok, tell me about the Cimbri. The Cimbri were a tribe of northern Europeans that attempted to immigrate into Italy in the 2nd century BC. And they were defeated at the Battle of the Rhone River in modern-day Avignon, France. Right. You get some cool stuff there. Yeah, sometimes AI can actually get it right, but you do want to double check it. Too often it doesn't give enough of the context. Hold on. Having some issues with Restream. So hopefully you're still seeing me on YouTube, but it looks like maybe not. Channels. Nope, maybe we are. Maybe we're doing okay. We're doing okay here. Only 7 people on YouTube. That's way less than normal. It's all right though. AI can actually get it right, but you do want to double check it. Too often it doesn't give enough of the context. Yeah. So I think that's useful. You could use AI. Like the stuff that I would want AI to do is the stuff that I don't like to do as a writer. I like to do all the writing stuff. That's why I'm a writer, and that's why I enjoy that. Same thing with musician. I want to do the music stuff. I want to make the notes. So what I like AI for, and what I think it's useful for, is doing the things that aren't that. So who can meaningfully complain if I use AI to market my book? I'll give you an example, right? For me to run Amazon ads, I have to do a bunch of keyword searches and make a bunch of decisions about what segment of what market and what keyword buyers I'm trying to target using all of the, what if I could just tell an AI, hey, read my manuscript, tell me the ideal keywords to maximize sales. And it would just do that. Or even better, it's like, go do my marketing, go do AdWords with a budget of $50 a month or whatever your budget needs to be. Go do it. right? Tell me the return at the end of the month. Oh, well, with a $50 budget, we generated $75 worth of sales. Excellent. Increase the budget to $100. You know, or if it's even, you know, no, really you have to be higher, right? If you're using $50 in ads to generate $75 in sales, you're probably actually losing money because you're only going to make maybe 50% on those sales on average, probably less because some of those are going to be $1 sales, which only generate 35% royalties. So really you need to be doubling it, right? So you need to be getting $100 of revenue for $50 of ad spend. So if I could have the AI go do that shit, which I hate doing, and which annoys me, which takes up time and honestly reduces my royalties, right? I'm having to give a bigger share of my royalties to Amazon through paying for ad services and spending my time doing things that aren't making books. So yeah, I would love to have AI do that so that I can focus on fun things like making music or writing books. That's a great use of AI. I think I think a great use for AI is book covers. This is very controversial. I have some book covers that I made with AI back when this stuff was first coming out. I haven't really done, no, that's not true. I did Sorcerer's Blood uses some AI, it uses the whole thing's AI. The text is not AI, right? I designed the text, but the image is generated by AI. Now, I could have generated that same image with a lot of Photoshop work. I've done it before, but that's 8 hours of my life, maybe, if I'm doing a really complicated Photoshop. Like, and people are like, I can't believe you spent 8 hours, you know, for like a really complicated job, I could see myself doing 8 hours. As like a non-expert graphic designer, maybe somebody who does this stuff all day, like designs book covers all day using stock photos, could do it in 3 or 4 hours for like a complex scene. And I've broken down how complex some of my book covers actually are, the Photoshop book covers. Anyway, to not have to do that, I think is a huge labor savings. So I think that's a great use of it. But the controversy is like, you're not paying an artist. And then no one cared about paying artists when all the artists got fired in favor of like book cover designers that use Photoshop to make a generic book cover. Like no one cared that the artists lost their jobs then. But suddenly the book designers are like, you can't use AI to make your book cover, then I won't have money. It's like you provide a service that no one actually wants. Like no one actually wants to hire someone for services most of the time. Like people don't enjoy paying money for things. They enjoy having things. They enjoy using things. They don't enjoy paying money for it. So it's like if you had a robot that could change your oil, like if you could drive up to the gas station and there was like an automated oil change, most people would elect to do that rather than hire a mechanic to do all the oil change work. Why? Why would they elect to do that? Because it's less money. They don't want to spend the money, right? But what about the mechanic's job? People don't care about the jobs of they care about their own job. They don't care about it, but the mechanic will care, right? So yeah, cover designers care. It's like authors don't enjoy paying you money. Authors pay you money because they have to have a book cover to market their book. It's a mandatory thing. Right? It's mandatory if they want to be successful to have a competitive looking book cover. So that's why you get hired. So if they can make a competitive looking book cover and not hire you or hire someone cheaper that produces the same or better quality, they're going to do that. They're not paying you because they love you. They're paying you because they have to. Like your toilet is backing up. You have to hire the plumber. You're not glad to hire a plumber. You'd be glad if your plumbing just worked and you didn't have to hire the plumber. You may be glad that he can fix the toilet, but that's different. You'd prefer if the toilet never broke. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great use. Other people are going to think it's a horrible thing. There is the question of like, do software companies that use large language models, should they be required to pay people for the data that they ingest, including visual data, right? So I know that my books have been used to feed AI because there was a tool that detected that. I'm like, oh yeah, the Facebook AI has ingested my books. Okay. I don't know how they got them, but whatever. They ingested my books. So their data set includes my books. Should they pay me for that? Maybe, right? Maybe they should. Maybe artists should be paid if an AI ingests their image. I think there's an argument to be made there. But the wrong argument is you should hire an artist because artists deserve money, which is basically saying authors should be welfare for artists because they're the ones that have to pay for art. Because they have to pay for art, they should pay for art, right? It's insane. It's actually an insane kind of argument. It's like because you have to pay for your broken toilet. It's good that you pay for your broken toilet, right? Robots should not fix your toilet because you have to pay plumbers. You should never be allowed to hire a robot to fix your toilet. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, I think covers are a great use for that because I don't want to spend my time on covers. I'd rather, unless I feel artistically compelled to make one as a visual artist, then that's a different motivation though. That's the motivation of an artist. So yeah, I would prefer to have like an AI that would just write all the marketing gunk, write the ad copy, go do it, go make the AdWords happen, go make them happen. I don't want to deal with them. I think that would be a great use, but I haven't figured out how to really use that well. Like I think there's probably a way to use ChatGPT to do that, but right now, in order to do it at the level of a human, you have to use multiple tools to do it, and I don't know if like ChatGPT or one of these other ones like Grok could do that. But I could certainly try it out. Like we could try it out. We could say, Grok, can you read a book and design an ad campaign for that book? And if it could do it, boy, that would be great. I would just use that because I don't want to think about it. Do you know what I mean? AI compiling a lore Bible by compiling all your notes would be a huge time saver. Yeah, that would. Like, write a wiki article on this character. I'm thinking about streaming writing. Could I play your music in the background with crediting? Yeah, totally. You can use my music. My music's free to use. I will not copyright claim the music. I can't even do it on my music channel. It's too small for me to file copyright claims. Believe it or not. You have to have like 1,000 subscribers before the little options in your YouTube studio even open up to allow you to do it, right? Like here's a picture of me playing on my patio. Kind of a cool little scene here. Yeah, so anyway. Yeah, I think there's a lot of uses for AI. What I would never use AI to do is to do the things that I'm claiming to be an artist doing. So if I'm like, I'm an artist, I'm a visual artist, I'm a painter, and then I'm using AI to paint, I think that's dishonest. And it's not that you're wrong to use AI art for something, in my opinion, it's that you're wrong to claim to be an artist. So when someone calls themselves that, this pissed me off so much. It was Midjourney was getting big and people were like, I'm an AI artist. I'm like, you are not any kind of artist. You are commissioning an AI to make you art, and prompts are not that complicated. The idea that you need specialized knowledge to do prompts with an AI is stupid. You don't. It's really basic stuff. Yeah, it's really basic stuff. So you guys, what do you think? I could do a straw poll. But just tell me in chat, do you think we should write a new sci-fi story? We can come up with the outline together and write it live, or do we want to do we want to dig into like the live music document so I could show you kind of the stuff I do guitar-wise? I can even demo this awesome synth pedal I'll go get by Les Paul, or I can use my Parker Fly. You know? Yay, I need my toilet snake. No one thinks this. No one's like, I'm so happy to pay someone to fix my roof. They're like, crap, I have to pay to fix my roof. It's mandatory or my house will be destroyed. So I have to fix my roof. No one's like, I'm so glad to fix my roof. Isn't it great for me? I'm so happy to pay a repairman. I'm happy the repairman knows how to repair it, but I'm not happy to do the repair. Do you know what I mean? I've seen a lot of AI more and more in the web novel space. Okay, I'm not into that space, so thank you for telling me that. It irritates me that they aren't upfront with it, and that it's good enough for people to gobble up. So, I think I said this to Stefan Molyneux, and he talked about it briefly in his stream last week, which I couldn't watch all of because I was doing my stream. His opinion is real artists don't really have a lot to fear from AI because AI can't be creative the way a human can. And he's had this position for years, and I agree with him. And what I've kind of realized is that a huge part of the indie book publishing space is afraid of AI and wants to use AI because they already wrote the equivalent of AI slop. They were writing AI slop. They were trying to find as many ways to make slop as possible. And so AI is just the next natural evolution of the slop factory. It's like, I'm going to write a novel that uses these specific tropes to target this specific market segment that's interested in this specific kind of story about vampire mermaids or something. And you just write by numbers. My story is going to include X, Y, and Z. And the end result is just a paint by numbers. It's something that might as well have been written by AI. And so there's a certain segment of authors that were really excited by AI because they thought, finally, I can get paid and I can call myself an author without having to either A, do the work, or B, pay a ghostwriter in the Philippines to do it. I'm telling you, there were so many indie authors that built their catalog on the back of ghostwriters. Really common. Okay, way more common than anyone wants to know. Same thing with buying reviews. Like the longer the independent space went on Amazon, the faker it got. The books got fake. The authors weren't writing them. I think that's how what's his name got caught plagiarizing, is he was hiring ghostwriters and the ghostwriters plagiarized. So he didn't actually plagiarize. It's his ghostwriters that plagiarized. Mark Dawson, I think it was, that we had that discussion about. But yeah, the stuff that they're writing was already slop. And I'm not going to judge you if you want to write slop, but hopefully that's something you enjoy writing, right? So you would get something out of writing it. Most indie authors that are, I don't know, in the space, I don't know how to describe them. They are not focused on the joy of creating. They don't care about that. What they want is they want the status of being an author, and they want the status of having sold a lot of books. So they'll do whatever it takes to do that. And then they maybe make their money selling you a course on like how to write a successful independent fiction book, right? And it's no secret, you do your market research, you find the market segment that is underserved that you can guarantee sales with. You write a book very quickly and cheaply, paint by numbers, that fulfills all their expectations, slap a good cover on it, spend a little bit on ads, spend a little bit on reviews, and away you go. You have a successful bestseller. It's not that hard. And then, of course, one of the steps that no one talks about is you email Amazon, and the Amazon workers will put your book into whatever categories you want, including categories where there's like 4 books total. And then you only have to sell like 3 copies of your book to be #1 bestseller in that category. So very, very common tactic. It's dishonest. Yes, it's very dishonest, which is why I don't do it. But like, authors do it. So just be aware. You could do it. You could get your novel put into the Star Wars. So like, you could get a science fiction book and have it put in the Star Wars category. It's not Star Wars. But because the Star Wars category is very helter-skelter, if you release your book in between Star Wars releases, or in the Star Trek category is even better, you can sell like 10 copies of your book and then it'll be bestseller, because that category gets so dead on Amazon that no one's buying any books in it. You can get yourself an orange tag really easy. Yeah. I've noticed that too, says Gen Z Val. I wrote my own web novel without any use of Gen AI for the prose and writing the story, and I plan to keep it that way. Yeah. I can't stand it because I've noticed the AI writes with a sort of uniformly over-focused level of detail. The fact that I know there's no guiding vision behind the story keeps me from getting invested. Yeah, humans start to detect this. It's an uncanny valley in the writing. It's like, why are you doing the same kind of style over and over again? Why is there no variety to what you're doing? Why are you giving me details that don't matter? Whereas a real artist is only going to give you the details that matter. including you may not even need to know what a character really looks like. Hemingway routinely just didn't describe characters. They just were there. Here comes Bob. What do you need to know about Bob? He's an American. Unfortunately, normies don't really care about whether they consume is made by human or AI. I'm not sure. I think they would if they knew, if they were more invested. But I think that there's like a whole category of just sort of consumers that even in the fiction space don't care. Really don't. They just want something that makes them have a tickle feel. And I think maybe this is one of the boons of AI is that it could destroy the romance market. So what I would say the next thing with AI is actually getting normies into AI would be like, instead of paying $3 for smut that was written by AI, you can just have the AI write you that smut. Just tell the AI to write you a book that includes the things that you want. I want you to write me a book about a billionaire werewolf who falls in love with a chubby girl and they have this kind of sex. And then boom, out comes your porno. And I could see it for visual pornography too, though it's not there yet. It's like, make me a porno where all these things happen according to my like fetishistic desires. And are we really going to complain that like the porno industry gets destroyed by AI? This is like, this chews up human beings and spits them out like garbage. The pornography industry has been terrible to the people in it. Whether it's bad to the people who consume it, that's a whole nother discussion, but usually people will say it is. Like there's people who can't handle pornography in their lives. Like they get addicted to it and they have dysfunction as a result of it. So you wouldn't solve that problem, but you would solve the problem of 18-year-old girls ruining their lives by doing pornography. So that might be good, right? It's like, is anybody going to mourn the death of the porno industry? I don't know who will. If you have AI girls destroy the OnlyFans space, as a society, are we going to mourn that OnlyFans is gone? I wouldn't. Maybe you would. I don't know. You might have a different opinion than me. That's okay. The one neat thing is that it's forced me to notice more about what makes real writing interesting to read. The variation and level of detail keeps things interesting. Think about a book series like Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. An AI couldn't write that because an AI wouldn't understand the meaning behind any of the events. So because the AI doesn't assign spiritual meaning to things and can't, it can only imitate and like what's most likely to happen next. It could do a sequence of events according to a formula, but there's not a formula to Book of the New Sun. It doesn't follow any formula. It's a work of creativity and love and power because of that, and imagination and weirdness. So an AI is not going to write Book of the New Sun. It's not going to write another book that's like Book of the New Sun. It can't do it. Not the large language models we have now, and that's good. But because the technical quality of the writing is uniformly better than average, normies just think it's good when it's soulless. Yeah. And the thing is, better than what? What does that mean, better? Right? People love Cormac McCarthy, and he doesn't use commas. To me, that's like unreadable, but people love that. So does that make him a bad writer? That he doesn't use commas intentionally? That he has these crazy run-on sentences with no commas, no punctuation in anything? It's a good question to think about. And I've had people send me emails saying that like my grammar was wrong when it's correct because they don't know the English language, or they haven't read anything before about like 1920 or 1900. So they don't know how English sentences can be constructed. Like I remember somebody sent one and I actually changed it, not because I thought it was wrong, but because I realized people would think it's wrong, right? I used the term was come. He was come to the end of the line. Was come is proper English. You find it in many older texts. But for a sci-fi pulp novel, I realized people are going to think it's wrong. And they'll think badly of me because it's wrong. Now, maybe I should have just kept was come. Maybe I'll go edit Voices of the Void to put was come back into it instead of had come. But was come is correct. Was come is 100% grammatically correct. It's part of the English language. But there's so many people who don't have a deep knowledge of how the language is used or has been used that they have no idea what is or is not proper grammar. They don't know how commas work in a lot of cases. They don't know the meaning of words. Like I've used words and like, use this word and I think you're using it wrong. I'm like, nope, I'm using it correct. And that's what that means. You know, it's a correct use of the word. You just maybe don't know what that word means. That's okay. Like you just have a more limited understanding of the word. Maybe I should have used a different word, right? That feedback can be useful. It's like, okay, maybe my audience doesn't have the same knowledge of the language that I do. But I realize there's also this semi-hostile relationship between reader and writer that's developed over time, at least in the indie space, where readers think they're smarter than the writer. Whereas most people don't do that when they pick up a Gene Wolfe book. They're not like, I'm smarter than Gene Wolfe. He did this badly. Now, I have found typos in Gene Wolfe books, and I've found typos in J.K. Rowling books. Actual typographical errors where like it's the wrong word, or like they misspelled a thing, or there's a period missing, or some punctuation missing. Those things happen. But no, I don't know too many people that are like, I'm going to pick up this James Clavell book and say, well, he sucks because he didn't write this sentence the way that I think he should. This is a weird attitude because this didn't exist 30 years ago. It would be, that's interesting that he wrote that. I haven't seen that before. That must be another way you can do it. The assumption was the author was the correct one. The author was doing something right. Not the author is wrong and I'm right. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird thing that's developed. And this is different from criticism because I could say, I don't care for Brandon Sanderson's style when he does these things. That's different from me saying he's wrong to do them. He's doing them wrong. He's writing sentences wrong. I don't think so. Wasn't there a controversy a few years ago about erotica getting listed as children's fiction on Amazon? I might be misremembering. I don't remember that, but I wouldn't doubt it because you can assign whatever categories for your books you want. So I could put an erotica novel on Amazon and give it a children's book category. Or if you put the wrong keywords in, the system will automatically put you into those categories. So if you write erotica, put it in the adult section, and then have keywords that are like children's literature, it'll put it in children's literature. That's the author, right? That's not Amazon messing up. That's the author intentionally deceiving the system in order to put smut in front of kids. How do we know these people complimenting the author are real people and not bots? That's a good question too. The whole thing could be fake. Bots giving positive reviews to AI books. It's a whole new, brave new world, guys. I've not used any ghostwriters or AI the entire time I've written any scripted book I've made. Good on you, Jared. If anything I write is seen as good or bad, it comes down to me and my writing. Yeah. It's the same problem with AI art. It all ends up the same body shape. Yes. Some people like that body shape, my friend. Hemingway didn't even name the main character in Old Man and the Sea. Yeah. There's no character name in Demon Ex Machina, which you can get for free by joining my mailing list. dvspress.com/list. You can get this book for free. The main character has no name. You don't know his name. It's written in first person, so he never talks about his own name. I think that playing with grammar is part of writing, and one of the things that using AI to write or edit would send away. This is another thing. I need to do a video on this, which is Grammarly voice. People will use things like Grammarly, or Pro Writing Aid is the next one I want to evaluate. And I think it's pretty good, but it's a tool that's only really good in the hands of a master. And in the hands of a amateur, I think it will actually strip your writing of what makes it unique, and it will not teach you how to edit because you won't have the deep enough knowledge to make decisions about the editing. Maybe I can show you an example. Let's maybe I can get an example out here. I've been questioning a lot lately whether people I see online are real or humans or just bots. I assume a lot are bots. I can tell, you know, you could tell with a lot of like Amazon reviews whether they're bots because they won't say anything too specific. But the next level bots may read the book and then know how to say things or, you know, things like that. All right, let me see if I could find this. See if I can give you an example live here. I've realized I've been going on 45 minutes. We haven't done anything. All right, let's take a look at this little manuscript here. Yeah. So, okay, I have ProWriting 8 open. Let's take a look at this manuscript because I haven't edited it. Okay, here it is. Demon's Flesh. This is like the prelude to a book that I'm going to come out with. Okay, so you can see there's some stuff here, right? Unknown word. This is a name, so you can just ignore that. Most people can get that. Clung to the cold places in the rock. Can you use stronger adjective than cold? There's nothing wrong with cold. So you would ignore this. I would ignore this, right? Why would I say chilly places, inhospitable places, or unfriendly places? Cold is the correct word. So ignore. Now, an amateur might see this and be like, maybe cold is not a good word. Maybe there's something wrong with the word cold. And then they'll hit chilly places. And then I'm reading it that the gathering haze that clung to the chilly places in the rock. Chilly's a weird word, right? As an advanced reader, as a real reader, I'd be like, chilly might stick out to me as a bad word. It's too colorful. We don't always want colorful words. We want accurate words. Okay, with this. The man said, turning his dark eyes back to Jacobus. All right, so it thinks that there's present tense somewhere in here. So we're going to actually disable that rule because it thinks that I'm using present tense somewhere. I'm not. So that's wrong. That's going to clog our thing up. A great sword. So maybe great sword should be one word or two words. Now, you might want to just have it be two words, or we might want to look it up. Or we can just have it be one word. Well, looks like you could have it be one word or two words. Doesn't matter. It could be a great sword or it could be a great sword. Look at this. So, some quick research. Hey, we can have it be both ways. Both ways work. So you can make a decision. Do I want a great sword or a great sword? Now, I grew up learning grammar that this is the kind of word you combine. This is a compound word. A great sword. You know, like penknife. So we're going to ignore that. Again, Launchy, we're going to ignore. Or we can actually add him to dictionary. So add to dictionary. Great sword. Ignore. Right? Possible punctuation mistake. Did it find this? I'm not equipped for this sort of job. Nope. Ignore. So it hasn't found any mistakes yet. Have faith, Launchy. Okay, this has like a premium thing here. Oh, you can't see this edge. Let's. Okay, then wants me to do premium here. Because there's some correction, it's going to hide behind a paywall. Oh, well, I'll just ignore that. This doesn't matter for now. But I might look closer. Jacobus flexed his fingers, filling the servos and rotors that resisted and then accelerated his every movement. Nope, I like the way that's written. So this has two spaces after a period. Okay, we'll fix that. Hey, it found a typo, technically typographical error. Two spaces. Maybe we want to get rid of this comma. But since I am so weak, but this to me this is a delivery. But since I am so weak, I must rely on the machines of the Mundus. So the Mundus, it may think Mundus is a word. It's Latin. I'm just bringing in a Latin word. It means the mundane. Ignore. Okay, so this is not an unnecessary comment because it changes the delivery of how the speaker is speaking. So I'm going to keep this one just as an example. So we're going to ignore that. Can you use a stronger adjective than true? It is no use against true demons, veritable demons. No, true is correct. So once again, true is correct. But again, you could see an amateur would be like, maybe true is a bad word. No, it's not a bad word. It's a good word. Possible comma error. Where? Then pray. Then... So this would actually be a good one here. We're going to do a semicolon. Boom, we've made a correction. So we've made 2 corrections. Very good. Utter. It was utter dark. You could say it's utterly dark. You can make it an adverb. But I like utter dark better, so I'm ignoring that. I like the way utter dark sounds. It was utter dark. Besides a few winding weed choked paths, we're going to ignore that. But that's in the Microsoft one. Yes, ignore. With highly amplified light. Oh, this would be a good comma because it's a clause here. With a highly amplified light, you can see the facades of the houses. Okay, so 3 corrections and a bunch of things that I ignored. Built for the purpose of settlement. Built for settlement. No, we want purpose. We want the word purpose in there because that is a different meaning than just for. Purpose of is not clutter. It's correct. We're talking about what is the purpose. The purpose of settlement in some better populated area. Okay, we're ignoring that. So that's a bad suggestion. But I could see an amateur going, oh, I guess I used too many words. I guess I'll delete the words that make the sentence work. Right? Some better populated area, or perhaps on a different world. In a different world. Ignore. We're on a planet, so on works fine here. Works great. You have started 6 sentences in a row with the same word. Where is that? Lanchi seemed to be melting. His posture was collapsing, his shoulders rolling forward and his head bowing, as if he was expecting a blow. He had backed into the deep shadows of a nearby tree. Jacobus could see his enhanced vision. Okay, so this is a great one here, right? Like... seemed to be melting. I could just say he's melting. Right? You could just say Lanchi was melting. But we might take that literally. So I don't want to say that. Yeah. Like Brian said, he writes for the 8th grade reading level because that's average literacy level today. Been questioning a lot lately whether people I see online... Oh, yes, we saw that. With AI, because it's biased towards the average, you get a lot of bad advice because most advice is bad or bad out of context. I've noticed this a lot with programming. Yep. Okay, so right here, let's look at this delivery. So this is a bad suggestion. But I could see an amateur thinking, I actually shouldn't do this. But if you're intentional, you know what it is. I don't know, Lanchi said at length. I don't remember. I was scared. I went straight back to the beacon and Ulpont. I'm not supposed to... His lips moved silently for a few moments. I wasn't supposed to. I don't think I would have ever had to come back, right? So, of course, he's stammering, right? So, the saying, I did this, that's completely correct. So, we're ignoring that. Yes, ignore. Ignore. Ulpont, ignore. 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 All right, possible missing comma. To Lanchi, there. So there's a comma. That's a good correction. So we've made like 4 corrections, and then learn to ignore a bunch of other things. So think about them. More like a heap of rubble. No, I misspelled rubble. So there's a 5th one. Rubble. 2 B's. As Jacobus approached the door, comma. That's a good one. Okay, so he kicked the door and it fell inward with a loud crash, tumbling in 2 parts. So because these are 2 verbs, yeah, we can use a comma here. He kicked the door and it fell inward with a loud crash, tumbling in 2 parts. But I often, I don't like the comma there, so I'm taking it out. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right to me. So to me, I go with my judgment. He kicked the door and it fell inward with a loud crash. I don't like that comma in there. It disrupts the flow of the way you would read it. Lanchi cried out. I don't see any present. I don't see a single present tense one. This one's always wrong with this one. So there we go. Let's see here. Jacobus shouted, moving further into the darkened room. Disabling the room. Disable that rule. There's no present tense. There's no way I did it. Face me. No, face me and know that I come. You could get rid of the comment, but I'm going to leave it there. That's a Microsoft suggestion. It's not one of these. Let's see here. I have many pleasures to bestow. Yeah. Yep. This needs to not have an apostrophe. Okay. Seeing. Empty but seeing eyes. Nope, that's correct. We're going to ignore all the premium suggestions because we probably don't need them. But we can look at them closely. It's telling us, look closely at this. Then he bore down on his enemy. You are destined to serve in hell. It's fine. The Inquisitor broke the grip of the demon. I actually would probably put... And then letting his sword sweep in like arcs. He pressed forward. Okay. So I'm going to add an and there. Because that flows a little better. Jacobus cried, and comma's in the wrong place. I don't know if it was pointing that out, but that, and with a terrible scream, the demon flashed in red fire. Okay, let's see what we have here. Wisps. Like acrid green wisps. There we go. No H in wisps. So that's correct. Gray. I like E for gray. It's correct spelling. After a few moments. Okay, another comma. Let's see. They were not questions. We don't need A. Okay. He drew his sword again, but relaxed as he saw Lachie emerge from the basement, holding the pistol with heavy arms. I actually don't think you need a comma here. With the push of a button, this was a good comma, the object opened up. But you don't need it. With the push of a button, the object opened up. You don't really need the comma, but I guess it's proper. Lachie asked. Alright, here's one. The air around him. Could do the surrounding air. That's not a bad suggestion, actually, right? It felt as though all the surrounding air had suddenly been sucked away. All the air around him works fine, though, so I'm ignoring that. And we have this. Lachie's ears popped, and hearing began to return as he shakily pushed himself off the ground. You can just say off the ground. You don't actually need the of. When they reach the plateau, yeah, that's a good comma. So this is good for finding commas. Pretty good for commas here. I'm going to ignore that because this is dialogue. I regret that I must do this. Father Baratheus told me that you had lived among the heretics. So if you want to read the full book of this, I'm going to come out with it shortly. I need to get Jesse. Jesse did like a sketch cover for it. I'm going to get him to do a full cover. Walking slowly, right? No, so this is a great example of, right, an adverb. Because you could do this like, instead of walking slowly, strolling, sauntering, trudging, ambling, meandering. Is he doing any of these things? He's not doing any of those. He's walking slowly and deliberately. So walking slowly is a different meaning than all of these. So we're going to ignore it. I picked walking slowly, and I'm going to stick with it. So this is why he thinks this is present tense. Crossing himself and whispering just outside of perception. No, whispering is correct in this case. So ignore. Again, a UK spelling. Knelt. No, knelt is better than kneeled. Kneeled sounds bad. So I'm not doing kneeled. You leapt. You didn't leaped. Leaped. No, leapt. You leapt. You leapt into the scene. Where is this? Ah, here we go. You must inform your own bishop for me, since I am not under his leadership. I guess that works. Okay, boom. So, 10 or 15 little corrections, and that was good. But could you see that maybe an amateur would look at this and think they could have severely made they could have made that manuscript much worse by obscuring the meaning, choosing bad words that went against the meaning, or second guessing artistic choices, especially with the dialogue. I. There's a delivery to that, and there's meaning behind those choices that the little grammar checker doesn't understand. So in the hands of a master, I think the Pro Writing Aid, just like Grammarly, is an excellent tool. So I'm going to do some more use for it, but there's a live demonstration. I'm not crapping on it at all. It's really good. It found a couple of places that I should have had commas, and it found a misspelled word. So that's really good. Okay, it found a typo. So it's a great tool, but it's a good tool in the hands of a master. In the hands of an amateur, any suggestion it's making, you need to really think about that suggestion. Because you saw how many I ignored, or how many I thought, no, stylistically I want it the way I chose. It doesn't matter what the grammar checker thinks is a better choice. Or like walking slowly is a great example. That's a perfect example of how adverbs are actually good, right? Because walking slowly has a different shade of meaning than sauntering or trudging, right? Or, so he stepped lightly over the threshold versus, he tiptoed over the threshold. That's different. Stepping lightly is a more casual thing than like I'm tiptoeing. Tiptoeing has a specific meaning. Stepping lightly has a different specific meaning. So treating synonyms as if they're the same is a mistake. I was wondering when it was going to do the don't use adverbs thing, right? I use adverbs all the time. Adverbs are great. A heap of rubles. My rubles! I'm taking my rubles and I'm going to buy something with them. What am I going to buy with my rubles? I'm going to buy, what am I going to buy with my rubles? I'm going to buy a muffler for a car. Once Soviet, once the Soviet commissar say I can buy car, I'm going to need muffler because, everybody's going to steal a muffler off of it. Knelt over kneeled, slept over sleeped. I agree with that, right? And leapt. No one says I leaped. I leaped over it. Oh, you leapt. You wept. You didn't weeped. You wept. You knelt. You didn't kneeled. You knelt. Knelt is so much better. It's such a better word, right? The American variant of every word is worse than the British variant. I have toyed with the idea of completely abandoning American spelling and going entirely to British spelling for everything. I'm not there yet. Maybe I'll do that, though. Because color, as an example. Why is there a U? It's like, because the U is actually in there. Color. It's not color. Color. The U is in color. It's just a softly pronounced U. Color. Not color. Color. We misspell color. What a stupid thing. Yeah, color. The British spelling of color is a better spelling. So in almost every instance, the British spelling is better than the American spelling as far as I'm concerned. Gray. If I see Gray, I might think it's a Latin word. Gray. Grey. Oh, that's definitely gray. Yeah, if I see Gray, I'm like, oh, it's gray. But I know it's gray, but like, the Grakai. Or would that be A-I would be I. Maybe I'm thinking of like Spanish. Anyway, gray's fine. I like Grey because that's how it sounds in my head. Labor. It's not labor. Is that labor? Or is it labor? Labor. Or. The U's in there, guys. How much labor have you done? I was doing much labor. The U's there. It's a better spelling. In my opinion. My humble opinion. Okay, so there's an example of Pro Writing Aid. I think it's a great tool. Things I don't like about Pro Writing Aid, but this is because I'm a master, not an apprentice. This improvements and goals. What the hell is this? I don't care about this crap. Get the F out of here with this crap. I write what I choose to write with my, what's this glue index? Glue words to make your writing clearer. How about you die in a horse fire? Oh no, you used too many glue words and die in a horse fire. Remove adverbs from dialogue tags and show emotions more. These is great advice only in the hands of a master. You can very quickly destroy the shade of meaning that you established with what you're writing. With all of this advice. Most writing advice is bad, including the ones that I give you. Anyway. Glue index. Readability, grade 5. That's good. Passive voice, 0. Passive voice is actually good. Passive voice is good. I will defend I didn't use the passive voice in this, but it's good. Plates were brought out. Oh, who brought the plates? Servants. It doesn't matter. The servants aren't part of the scene. No one cares. They're not speaking. They're barely human. Those servants that brought the food, I could say servants brought the food. Okay, yeah. Or I could say food was brought out. The fire was lit. Who lit the fire? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who did it. My complex paragraphs. I don't have enough complex paragraphs. There needs to be more complex. You know. But see, if you take these suggestions, you're gonna ruin your writing. You're gonna ruin it. It's okay though. It can point you to make decisions. That's the point. So I guess the point I want to make here is like, is Grammarly a better spell checker than Words on Check? Absolutely, it's much better. Unseen servants brought the plates. Okay, so if it makes you think about the sentence and consider what you did, that's its use. Not to help you to do things correctly, but to make you think about your intention behind what you have done. You should write sentences with intention. You should be intentional about what you do as an artist, okay? So that's where this is really, really useful. And this could be better. Longer sentences. I want to like intentionally make this say that I'm a bad writer. If we plugged like Thomas Aquinas into this, it would say he's a bad writer. You know? So one of the things you do to test something like this is like, you know, put Cormac McCarthy in it and then watch it go like, this is terrible writing, you know? Of course it is, but, you know. The goals tab reminds me of the data-driven design that is particularly killing the entertainment industries. Oh, yeah. Artistry requires an artistic vision, in my opinion. I'm going to go get a drink real quick. Talk amongst yourselves. Tell me if you want, if we're going to write a new, are we going to write a new story? Are we going to, we're going to write a new story? Are we going to do a little music document and do a little demos of what I do here? You let me know. I'm going to get a drink because I'm very thirsty. I don't know what I was looking for here. I think I had it on Twitter. Anyway, I linked it. I linked the Twitter thing before. There it is. So we could totally write a little sci-fi story. Less than 7,500 words. That's easy. No AI. We don't need AI. 0% AI. And you could write that too. I'll link it again. And then I'll be right back. Getting hot in here too. classic John Cage piece. Okay. I came up with a story idea while I was walking away. Kind of like live in the pod and eat bugs. This one is called, I'm going to call it the Brian Johnson Dystopia. Okay, we're going to create Brian Johnson's Utopia, but it's going to be a dystopia. Ship of Theseus people. Let's do it. Since nobody's giving me any advice, let's write it. Let's write a little sci-fi short story. We'll submit it to Bro, and whatever. Where were we? Here we go. Okay. I'm going to move this over here. It's a little more out of the way. All right. What are we going to call this dang old thing? Let's get that. Turn off your grammar checkers while you're writing, by the way, guys. Pro tip right there. You don't need any of that shit over there. I'm sorry, what? Decided on leaped versus leaped? Leapt is how I say it, so that's the way I write it. Let's think of a great opening line. Let's think of a great opening line. Get my glasses on. What's up, Val? Hope you're having a good one. I'll write this little story for a few minutes. Maybe I'll finish it another night. Let's spell asymmetrical. There we go. That's a good scene. And we're getting close to quitting time. So, that's a great little aphorism. Kind of like live in the pod and eat bugs. So, I'm not getting word counts anymore on my things here. I used to have the word count always down here. 4 words. That's wrong. 890 words. Maybe we can write 100 more words. What's her name? Janice? little story is kind of meta about AIs. It's thrilling to read a story the moment it's being written. Great. I'll try to finish it up this week. Very least it will definitely be a free one. It'll be a freebie. All right, let's see. Let's see what our word count is. 1,099. Okay. I need to go eat dinner. So that's probably a good place to stop. Let me write a little bit more. Just a little bit more because I have some more ideas here. Okay, I'm going to pause there because I am out of time now. Done 2 hours. Hypothetical question. Is there a number of viewers that you would make it hard to write? Could you write knowing 10,000 people are watching? Yes, I could. I would prefer 10,000 people to watch. Why not? That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. All right. Okay, we'll finish this up later, and maybe we'll give it to the guy, or not. We'll just publish it for free. 1,400 words. Boom. All right. I think that's going to be it for today. I will, let's crank this light up a bit. Boom. Okay. I think that's going to be it for today. I will be back tomorrow at 6 Central, 7 Eastern. And I'm going to hang out with Brian Niemeyer. So be there. We'll be square. We'll be back tomorrow for a fun talk with Brian. He's an author and a publisher and an editor. So great guy to have a conversation. So we'll do that tomorrow. And I'll see you all next time. Have a great, great day. Oh, let me link the King Leopard pre-order for the ebook. We will have paperbacks and everything coming out at that time too. If you didn't get to the Kickstarter, no worries. There will still be hardbacks and paperbacks. Just the Amazon edition. It's going to be a little bit different. But the same book, the same content. So check that out. And I'm going to put out some Substack. I meant to put out a Substack article today, but I had to do so much. So I'm going to put one out tomorrow and probably Friday. I'm going to try to do a couple of these per week. So I'll go ahead and make the Substack as well. Make sure you're subscribed to that. And I'll see you all next time. Have a great, great day.